Hello Reds and welcome to the 100% United podcast. I'm your host TC and I'm joined again by my co-host Scott. Hello mate.
Hello mate.
On today's show we assess Louis van Gaal's latest comments about Ed Woodward and the structure of the football club. We look at the transfers that now seem off the table and also who looks to be still on the cards. First though, we do have our first signing of the summer. The young Dutch star Dylan Hergerwerf signed from Ajax, only 16 years old. It's a start, pal.
Yeah, definitely a start. One of those definitely earmarked for the future. Hopefully we'll maybe settle down to Heath Chong and we'll be able to see good things from both of them.
Yeah, he seems to be able to play across the front three like to Heath himself. As we say, only 16 years old. So really, as we say, is one for the future. I'm not sure I'd really count it as a real first team signing, really.
Definitely not.
No, but signing young people with a future has always been a part of the club, certainly in the modern era. So I think it's a good start anyway, pal.
For sure. Yeah, it wasn't the Dutchman we were looking for right now, but hopefully one for the future, you know.
Well, the more Dutch we can get over here, maybe it's a little carrot for the rest of them, eh?
Yeah, hopefully they won't be as bitter as the last Dutchman we had.
Yes, mate. Well, we'll move on to one Dutchman, won't we? Our former boss, Louis van Gaal, has had some words to say about Ed Woodward and the football club in general. And with where we lie at the moment, some of the words seem to ring true. Obviously, he is a bit bitter after his exit from the club. I thought what he said today made a lot of sense, though, really, pal.
It did. But you know, you're absolutely right. It just sounds like a bitter ex-wife whinging about her old husband.
Just in case anyone hasn't heard the comments, basically, in a nutshell, he said the problem begins, of course, that the team was never refreshed. He said, I think as a manager, you need to refresh every year to keep the team building process going. He said he didn't get the players he wanted. That's the problem. He said Woodward and his right-hand man, Matt Judge, who he only met once in a while, not too much. He said the head of scouting, there was a structure, but you were always dependent on Woodward and Judge. He thought Manchester United could buy any player in the world because they had a lot of power, but there were some players that weren't reachable for United. And he kind of says that it was because of Woodward and Judge. So that's what he said ultimately about the process. I know you're saying it's kind of like a bitter ex-wife, but if the husband keeps on messing up the marriages, then you maybe look at the husband too.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. However, I remember when he got sacked after the FA Cup final, he was pretty furious about it. He was very disappointed. And if these comments really are true, I don't see why he would have A, wanted to stay as much as he did, and B, be so disappointed about leaving. And why it would take 3 years for these comments to come out.
That's a fair...
He's had a chance to say what he's felt in 3 years, and I just feel like he's just stirring up old pots to get his name back out there, and it just seems unnecessary, mate.
Just a little idea. Obviously, he's probably had some kind of gag put on him when the contract finished, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they terminated the contract. We normally do contracts to sort of the 1st of June, so I don't know whether that had something to do with it. It's obviously the 3rd of June now. His contract would have gone a while back. I don't know the intricacies of it, but from what I gather from Van Gaal, he was being quite fair. He said that Woodward knew he was only going to stay for one more year anyway after the FA Cup final. So getting Mourinho in, he thought he was getting Mourinho in for a good load of years. So on one hand, Van Gaal understands, but on the other hand, he's annoyed that Woodward didn't tell him the truth, that he didn't tell him that I'm going for Mourinho. But then on the other hand, if he had told Van Gaal the truth, then that probably wouldn't have been the best thing for the club. So it's a tricky situation, really, isn't it, pal?
It is, and one that we shouldn't maybe spend too much time on because it doesn't get us anywhere, right? Just whinging about the past.
Well, you know what, mate? The reason why I'm touching on it is because he's highlighted the fact that he believes the club has the power to get players, but he believes it's the men at the top of the club who are not getting those players. Now, we all know about Ed Woodward, and he said there that Matt Judge is his right-hand man. Those are the two that sort out the transfers. Now, Matt Judge, before he arrived at United, was in investment banking for 13 years in the technology media sector. So we're talking about Ed Woodward, finance man, and then an investment banker making the decisions on whether Louis van Gaal is signing players or not.
Yeah, something that we've known for a long time, that we need a director of football. We need someone with a football-based background making the football-based decisions. And it just seems like it's nothing new. It just seems like the old sour grapes, mate.
Yes, mate, but the problems remain. We obviously had 4 different managers now, and we're again entering a summer where we're saying that we need to rebuild again. So what I'm getting at is there is something drastically wrong here, pal. There's something drastically wrong with the way we're going about things. We're creating an environment here from top to bottom that is not of benefit to us winning football games.
I'm not going to sit here and disagree with you. The first thing I read was him saying, at Bayern Munich, we used to do things differently. All the directors were football-based people, so there was a lot of relevance put towards decisions. And at Manchester United, it's much more of a commercial-driven enterprise. And the first thing that came to my mind was, well, if you weren't happy with it, why would you stay? Why wouldn't you quit and say, this is the reason I'm quitting? He was sort of happy to sit there and collect a paycheck in an environment that he didn't like and just whinge about it afterwards. It just seems stupid, mate.
My takeaway was that obviously he's touched on the fact the commercial side of the club is the focus is too much on the commercial side of the club. It's something obviously many people have said. It just triggered my mind as something Fergie used to say to players when he was offering them contracts when they were younger. He'd always keep the contracts quite tight. And I'd say, listen, if you make it Man United, you'll be richer than you could ever have imagined. You'll be richer than getting your big contract at another club early because of all the riches that come with it. And it just makes me so sad, mate, that if the Glazers just had an ounce of intelligence and just realised from the beginning that if they had just invested in the club, if they had just pumped money into the club, they would have made so much more money out of us already than they have anyway. We would have made so much more money out of these commercial deals. We would have made so much more money as a club if we had been winning for the last blooming 6 years. If they had just had some foresight instead of penny pinching all the time. They've created actually a situation where they're going to end up getting less money out of the club because of the way they're running it.
Yeah, but again, talk about people who don't have a history in English football.
Yeah.
And you can't expect a cat to act like a dog.
No, but you can expect them to actually come in and put their finger on the pulse of the club. Because if you look at the teams that have been successful when foreign owners have come in, you look at Chelsea, Roman Abramovich, you always see him at the game. He's been a physical presence in Stamford Bridge, and the fans can see that. They can relate to that. FSG, obviously they had their problems at Liverpool to begin with, but those guys, they've tried to gauge the pulse of that club and try to make it work. Whereas the Glazers and us, we've always been divided. It's always been them, us and them. The Glazers didn't make an effort in the first place. When they did make an effort, we attacked them. So if you look at Man City, they've always got the chairman there. They've always got a representative of the owners there. The clubs that are successful, the owners and the fans and the club are all united.
Would you not think it's maybe an element of, I remember when the deal was put in place by the Glazers and suddenly there were protests and I remember Joel Glazer came to the ground one day and his police escort was, bottles were thrown at it and what have you.
Yep.
And they must have an attitude of, why would we pump money into this club when we're not even welcome?
Yes. And again, it's a two-sided coin, isn't it, pal? Because we all know it was a leveraged buyout. We all know they didn't have the cash to buy us or they didn't use the cash to buy us. So we saw it as a sort of unfair takeover, if you like. God, let's rewind back to, 2003, I think. When I heard the news, I thought it was game over. I thought we were going the same way as Wimbledon. I didn't understand what it meant. And everyone was telling us, I was getting calls from Chelsea fans saying, oh, sorry to hear about United, mate. It was broadcast as the beginning of the end. So, of course, as United fans, we've got this emotional bias against the Glazers. But yeah, it's glaringly obvious that divides throughout the club are causing us to stagnate.
Yeah, but I don't think it's something that we can just look outwardly as something that other people are doing wrong to us. It's something that we're doing wrong as fans as well. And we're not... We're not supporting the team at all times.
I would agree with that, mate. I'd say, everyone needs to up their standards in a football club, really. I think the away fans this season have excelled themselves as usual, physically at the games. But in terms of the general feeling around the club, we need to wake up and sort ourselves out, mate, because we've been sleepwalking into this. And it's hit home, mate. Let's not mess around here. City have got all of the domestic trophies and Liverpool have got the Champions League trophy. Let's not tiptoe around it. If you had told me that 6 years ago, I'd have been clawing my blooming eyes out.
Yeah, and at the moment, our current form isn't really anything to shout about. It's not as though we came third and we're in the semi-finals or anything like that.
No, we weren't even there to stop City win the FA Cup or something like that, like we should be, We should have been there just to stop them winning the double. We're nowhere to be seen, mate. Absolutely nowhere. And the worst part is we're entering now a golden age for English football in Europe. It always goes in cycles. And look what's just happened. Spurs in the European Cup final, what a joke, against Liverpool. And next year, you watch, there'll be English teams going through again. And we have no chance of going through because we're stuck in the blooming Europa League.
Yeah, it makes it even worse, right?
It does, mate. It does. And just to rub it in this morning, we had the worst headline of the summer so far. Apparently, mate, we're going to be fighting with Barcelona and Real Madrid for the signing of Mohamed Salah.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. £180 million. I have to say it is a first for me because any time that we've ever been linked with breaking the world transfer feed record for a player. Here's me, I'm all guns blazing. Oh my God, what I'd give for that player. I read it this morning and I just thought I would hate it, and I would. It was just a very weird feeling for me, right? I wouldn't even take him for 180,000, let alone 180 million.
Yeah, and we've got no chance of signing him, and we're definitely not fighting for his signature.
Don't even.
And it's just the biggest load of nonsense. I don't know whether that's a Liverpool fan winding us up, or a United fan trying to wind up Liverpool fans, or well, it was in AS, wasn't it, over in Spain? So who knows, mate? But just a new level for ridiculousness, I think, in terms of transfer rumours. That one.
I never thought I'd be around long enough to read something as stupid as that, mate. I really didn't. Honestly.
Welcome to the World Wide Web, mate, and the modern era.
And the worst thing is within 5 hours, it's in every single newspaper. Remember the days when different newspapers would report different things? And now they just report all this nonsense. We've been linked with 60 players already this summer, and it's just gone June.
Mate, think about it. When you used to go to an away game or something, you'd grab a copy of like 4 or 5 different papers.
Yeah.
Because you'd get different transfer rooms, different stories in each paper.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like you say, mate, it's just constant churn of the same stories, the same stories. And really, you have to trace it back to the origin of the story to see how much value to give it. I mean, because some you trace back to Twitter, as some you trace back to reputable sources.
Yeah. It's just blanket coverage of absolute nonsense. But you'd think that, you read something as ridiculous as that, and you'd think one of these journalists would think, yeah, I'm not going to attach my name with even just spreading that rumour, right? I'm going to leave that one in the dustbin.
I mean, do we even have to spell it out how mental it is? But I mean, was it, what we talking about? We talking late 70s last time there was a transfer from Liverpool to United?
Yeah, directly, yeah.
So that doesn't happen in general, even for, average players.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about like their top superstar, and we're going to pay them a world record fee, and he's just going to trot down the road and just arrive in Manchester and everything's fine.
Yeah, 2 days after he's just won the Champions League with them. Yeah,
yeah, but that's the other thing. So he's going to join us, who are in 6th in the Europa League, and Liverpool are going to be in the Champions League and the FIFA World Club Cup. I don't even know why we're talking about it, mate. Let's move on.
No, let's carry on.
Absolutely,
because you know what? There's other nonsense that we've got to talk about as well. I read this week. I read this weekend as well that
you love it, mate. Come on.
You know what? I do love a good transfer story. I love getting my hopes up about certain things, and there have been a couple of examples this year that not even I believe them, and I usually believe them all, right? I read this week that Real Madrid are going to swap Bale, Isco, and James Rodriguez for Paul Pogba.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of planet do we live on that's going to happen? It just doesn't make sense, mate.
Of course it doesn't. It is bonkers, mate. It really is. But the thing is, it's just rinse and repeat, isn't it? And then just plonk a new story in the next day.
Yeah, and then the next day they took out Isco and replaced him with Keylor Navas.
Oh, God.
And it was okay that now they're going to swap Bale, Navas and Rodriguez for Pogba. I mean, it shocks me.
I'd prefer just the two of them and they can keep Navas, to be honest with you. Talking about Real Madrid, I know I said I would quite like Ramos in at United. It was never going to happen, really. I was talking total nonsense. As we suggested, to be fair, I did say that it looks like it would be a smooth move if he could go off to China. That looks like what happened. He said, look, I've got an offer from China. I'm up for it. They said, no, it's not going to happen, pal. Stay a bit longer. And he said he's never going to play for anyone who will compete directly with Real Madrid. So, that one is off the table totally, I would say. Matthias de Ligt, Juventus apparently have joined the party with a £75 million bid as well. This is going to happen, pal. We've got the Nations League kicking off on Wednesday. And until the end of that, we're just going to have de Ligt rumours, aren't we?
Yeah, and the Nations League is only 2 games, right? It's just going to be...
Yeah.
So I guess till this time next week, there's just going to be a different club every week.
Exactly, makes sense.
And that was another thing that Van Gaal came out and said, that he thought de Ligt should go to City.
Did he really?
Which is always, which is just rubbing salt in any wound,
Yeah, it's a shame. No need for that. With de Ligt, I can't help but think we're in a situation, mate, where unless he is a secret United fan and, he's got some secret ambition to come and save us, even me, as the equally maddest United fan as anyone else out there, I just can't see him choosing us over the other options, because he's got the other options, and he's not ridiculously expensive.
Yeah, it's a really good point, and I think it's just every day that he doesn't choose someone else, we get our hopes up a little bit more, and I just really hope it's not going to be a huge disappointment in a week or so.
I can't see it happening, buddy. I really can't. I mean, you know me, I'm Mr. Positive big time, always. But also, I think sometimes you have to be realistic. And over the weekend, Liverpool win the Champions League and whatnot. It has made me look at us with a bit more depth and realise that we need to go about things a different way. And the thing is that we've done this every summer, mate. We've chased after players that are out of our league, basically.
Mm-hmm.
How long did Moyes? Moyes is still chasing after Cesc Fabregas. He's still waiting for him to call back.
Tony Cruz.
Yeah, Tony Cruz. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's still waiting for him to text back. So we've done it every summer. We've chased after these players. We chased after Bale,
and he was after Bale as well, right?
Yeah. Of course he was.
Yeah.
But yeah,
if we ever do get Bale and he turns out to be half good, Moyes is going to come out and he's going to say, "Have you ever let me sign Bale?"
yes, mate. But we have to look. Like I said, and I hate using Liverpool as an example. I really do, mate. But they are a team that were not pulling up trees and quietly squeakily went about their business, building, and now they're looking like they're back at the top table. So you do have to look across there a little bit, and we do have to start picking up players with the right attitude as well. Because you look through that Liverpool team, and they seem like they've got a good attitude too, pal.
Yeah, they do.
And it hurts. I must say it hurts seeing, I used to love our teams. We used to go out, especially, when we used to have our tete-a-tetes with Arsenal. And I was proud of our boys that we were the real men. We were the ones who would, if it came down to a physical battle, we'd always win. We'd never get kicked off the park.
Yeah, there was a certain pride that we had watching United, and it seems like the worse we get, the more that goes out the window.
Yes, mate. And I must say, look, we're fans ourselves. And, we do our best always to support the team. But I will say, in the last few months of the season, the last few months of Mourinho as well, the new sensation for us as United fans, I think, was looking out onto the field and seeing people who pretty much almost definitely weren't trying. And that's where we're sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place as fans. If someone's evidently not trying on the field, we want them out of the club. But then when they're on the field, we want to support them. So we're sort of stuck in a bit of a conundrum here, mate, where we need to basically start supporting our team like we're a smaller club with less expectations, I think.
Oh, for sure. And we've always been a pretty bad example of a club with a fan base of people who think that they could do better.
Yeah.
And people who, if I was the manager, this is what I would do. But you're not. So just get on with it and support the team. All these fanatics who think that their opinion does matter when it doesn't. The only thing that really matters is your support, right?
Yeah.
And you just got to keep supporting your team.
Exactly, mate. And I think that is what I'm touching on. We do need to, like we say, we're expecting league title winning, Champions League winning performances week in, week out from a team that doesn't have the capabilities.
Yeah, our expectation levels haven't shifted from the Fergie era.
No.
Everything else sort of has, right?
Yeah. And that's why I'm saying we have to look across to what other people have done to get out of a similar mess. Because this arrogant, we're United, you've got to do it our way, this is the way we're going to do it, we know best. Well, we don't know best, do we? Because we're literally, we're plundering down into the abyss here if we carry on doing what we're doing.
For sure. And it's not just the Fergie era, it's the David Gill era as well, right? Woodward is David Gill's replacement, and he just hasn't been able to bring it onto the pitch. And we've got a dozen noodle sponsors now, but we can't get the ball in the goal. So
and mate, think how many noodle sponsors we'd have if we were banging the goals in. That's what I'm saying. I'm telling you, mate. We'd have pot noodle,
super noodle, and pot noodle. Oh
no, mate. But honestly, that point I made earlier, I really truly believe that. I really truly believe if we had just gone, you know what, we'll spend an extra 15 million on that player. Who cares? We'll get him in. We'll make it happen. We'll spend an extra 20 million on that player. Yeah, we're going to do it. We keep pushing. Concentrate on the football side. The commercial side looks after itself, mate. I'm not saying they're not great at their job. They obviously are at making the money. But if the company's doing well as well on the football side, come on, Honestly, pal, it just hurts that they're penny pinchers. And if they just had a bit of vision, we'd be fine. And they would too. They'd be richer than they could ever have imagined. I'm sure of it, buddy.
Yeah.
But let's try and get some positivity in this anyway. Antoine Griezmann. So look, Barcelona, Messi is apparently putting pressure on the Barca board, saying he doesn't want Griezmann. He thinks he's going to cramp his style. And he wants Neymar back. Barca are quite keen on Neymar back too. If that fell through, that would leave Griezmann looking for a club, obviously. And he's obviously expressed an interest in United in the past. He's a United fan. His brother's a very big United fan. What do you reckon, mate? Is that a pipe dream?
It's a dream. Maybe not quite as far away as being a pipe dream. That maybe does have a bit of sense to it.
Just.
But to be honest, it's one of those that if City or Liverpool see that he is available, they could come in at the last minute and snatch him away. So one of those I don't want to attach too much sentiment to, because, I mean, on paper, he would do so much for our team.
Oh, wouldn't he? And you're right, mate. And we do have to accept that, unfortunately. I hate to say it. I honestly do. That if Liverpool or City did come in and matched our money offer at the moment, But you know what? Griezmann does support United. And you know what? If I was moving and Liverpool were trying to offer me 700 million quid a week to play for Liverpool over United, I'd still choose United. So, you never know, do you? You never know how much he has an attachment. But he did have his chance before to come to us and he blew it. So the other thing on this story, mate, is Dalio Sport are reporting that Barca are going to trigger Rodrigo Moreno's release clause at 106 million quid from Valencia. He obviously scored in the Copa del Rey final against Barca, put them to the sword. If they did sign him for 106 mil, that's a lot of cash for Barca to spend and then go out and spend what would be another 106 for Griezmann, isn't it? His release clause on when July starts.
Yeah, something tells me they're not going to spend that kind of money unless they can recoup about that for Philippe Coutinho, whether he goes to PSG or goes to Chelsea, if they can get over their ban. So it's one of those probably conditional things. But we said it last week that they'll spend all summer trying to get the best deal for him and then get him in the last week when there's no alternatives.
Well, the thing is with Griezmann is obviously that release clause comes into play in July. So it's 106 million. So realistically, I know what you're saying with the usual Barca tactics, but this year I think it's going to be different. I think Griezmann, we're going to have an answer in basically a month, I believe, because once that release clause goes up, then if Barca want him, they're going to have to snap him up right then.
Yeah, but what I mean is that they're not going to spend 106 on Griezmann and 106 on Rodrigo if they're not going to recoup anything for Coutinho or Dembele, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and I'm thinking, do they still want Griezmann if they're going in for Moreno? Because obviously that's a lot of cash when you've already got quite a nice stable of forwards. But mate, it's one of those ones where as a club we have to accept at the moment. We have to be realistic that if City or Liverpool come in and try and snatch someone, unfortunately, that every year that we continue this trend, it's going to get worse and worse. So we need to blooming change our attitude. Thomas Meunier, PSG mate, childhood red. Apparently, it's United or Arsenal for him. That's more realistic, isn't it?
Yeah.
In terms of a choice of two clubs. At the moment, I hate to say it, mate, but we're looking like the new Arsenal at the moment. So I hate to slag us off, but it's true. So, yeah, nice option, mate. Tidy right back. What would you think?
Yeah, given the amount of money that's been thrown around for these fullbacks recently, I think he'd actually be a pretty good deal, around 25 million. As you say, it was pretty good against us when we played in Paris. He's all right. I wouldn't say no, but it's another one of those that when the bigger clubs aren't sniffing around him, you're wondering why.
Yeah, mate, let's not forget, Spurs and Liverpool have been picking up players who people weren't sniffing around, and now everyone's sniffing around them. Because now they've proven themselves to be pretty blooming useful. So it's about time we started doing that, I think, pal. Adrien Rabiot, another one. Apparently we've offered him 170 grand a week. Rumour has it that he prefers a move to Liverpool. Another one who would be all right to slip into the midfield, mate. We obviously need a bit of strength in depth, but at the same time, we really need to strengthen that first team. We're pretty much talking about Herrera out, Rabiot in, are we?
Yeah, I mean, he's young. He's, 22, 23? Rabiot, full French international. Again, one of those who could maybe settle Pogba down if he could have one of his countrymen playing alongside him.
Yeah.
And if we want to look bigger picture long term about trying to keep Paul Pogba and keep him happy, could be a pretty good signing.
Yes, mate. And it just a little point there. Obviously, you mentioned Herrera. The rumours are growing now that there was quite a big split in the camp after obviously the English boys got their contracts renewed. Apparently, it wasn't something that Ollie had anything to do with. Those contracts were already in the works. Already basically done and dusted for the boys. And then the Spanish contingent apparently got their noses put out of joint. In terms of, obviously we don't know this for a fact at the moment, but in terms of what's happened, it does seem like a realistic scenario in terms of the team's downturn in form, in terms of the team selections, David De Gea's downturn in form as well, and the fact that Herrera's left and Mata and De Gea have question marks over their heads too.
Yeah, just seems like things behind the scenes were being mismanaged, and the players are the first ones to get disgruntled about it.
Yeah, and it seems like David De Gea is playing a waiting game, mate. I think seeing about the ambition of us this summer, Fair play, do you think? Or after the performances at the end of the season, he should have just sort of signed and got on with it?
To be honest, mate, I really don't see that situation ending well for us. I think he's going to run down his contract and leave on a free next summer and receive a massive 30, 40 million pound signing on fee from someone else, which is completely life-changing money. I mean, not that 17 million pounds a year isn't, but the more I think about that, the more I get worried that he's going to be leaving in a free in a year and we're really going to be up slack alley.
Yes, mate.
You know?
Not the place to be.
Definitely not.
No, mate. Yeah, I mean, in that situation, what do we play him for the whole of next season, knowing that he's going to leave the next summer? It puts us in an absolute desperate situation, pal. It really does.
It does. It really does. And again, something that I just dread thinking about, or I dread the outcome of the only outcome that looks like it's on the table anymore.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think we're going to have to accept that we are going to have to sell some players we don't really want to sell in order to rebuild this team. Sometimes when a player walks out the exit door, it seems like the beginning of the end. But sometimes it can be a blessing, mate. I don't want to start mentioning other clubs again, but we all know which clubs have sold for high amounts of money and then being able to build their squad with those bounties. So, mate, you know, Paul Pogba might be sold. We might think that we're losing our best player, but we might be losing a right old mess in the dressing room. We also might be getting 150 million quid for him. And as long as we spent it well, who knows where it might take us.
Yeah.
But, mate, yeah, we might have to get rid of some people we don't want to get rid of, I think. But there's obviously some players we do want to get rid of. It looks like Romelu Lukaku is, Conte's obviously confirmed it into as we thought he would be. He's very keen on Lukaku. Apparently now the latest rumour is that we're going to have to pay some of Lukaku's wages to get him off to Inter. Honestly, pal, they can take a run and jump with that, if I'm honest. He can sit on the bench and he can come on and play for us if they want us to pay his wages. Honestly, I've had enough of that. We buy players for top whack, we pay them top whack, and then they leave, and then we pay them half the blooming wages when they leave too.
Yeah, it's an awful precedent to set as well.
Oh, it's
It's
disgusting.
going to start with him and end with who? Before you know it, we're going to be paying players to leave themselves.
Yeah, no, it's a road we don't want to be going down, mate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's eroding all the traditions and values we built up over the past and the Fergie years too. No, I'm not having that, mate. I'm really a load of absolute nonsense. It really is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Mino Raiola, blooming loving it. Isn't he meant to be banned?
Yeah, he is.
So wait a sec.
I
What
don't
does that mean? Because De Ligt's still moving. So does De Ligt have to sack him or what?
But Lukaku did sack Raiola, right? Raiola isn't representing Lukaku anymore.
I believe so, yeah. He's with the Rock family now, isn't he?
Yeah.
And he's got a strange new agent who seems a bit weird too. Honestly, mate, it beggars belief. It really does.
Mm-hmm.
Not really much more going on, mate. You know, obviously there's rumours that we were going to put in a bumper bid for João Felix. Obviously got me very excited. But again, pal, as we've touched on, I think he might be one of the ones that might be worth sticking our budget on. I really do. I love the look of him. And obviously at his age, 19 years old, he's got the world at his feet.
Yeah, but you know, if that's going to be the case, we're going to have to spend 100+ million on him, give him huge wages, and you get someone like Alexis Sanchez comes in a year and a half ago, zero money for him on these massive wages, and can't deal with the pressure. And we're expecting a 19-year-old kid to deal with that kind of pressure.
I know.
And it's something that, again, at any other team, he'd have such a better chance of succeeding than he would at United. And obviously I really hope that we could pull something out the fire and get him, but would he really be able to be given the platform to succeed at United from our own fans?
I don't know, mate, but as you touched on, and as I totally agreed with you, he's got a look about him that he's something special. You know, Ronaldo shouldn't have come when he was 18 years old and lit up Old Trafford like he did. It shouldn't have happened, but he still did.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, look, I understand he had a world-class team around him that let him grow, but he had a hand in making that team turn into a real world-class team too. So, you know, I sometimes think if a player's special enough, then he can rise above it.
Yeah, definitely. But it's exactly the same sort of money that we'd have to spend on Griezmann, right? The 100+ million to get him.
Yeah.
I think it's the same sort of release clause, around 108, 110 million.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point, Scott. There's no way in the world that I can say that it would be at this point in time where we stand now. If we could get Griezmann, yeah, I totally agree with you, pal. It's an absolute no-brainer. You've got to go for Griezmann.
Mm-hmm.
But Griezmann goes somewhere else. And if we are left in a situation where we can't get someone like Griezmann, who was in the top 3 in the Ballon d'Or or whatever, if we can't, then someone like João Felix is maybe what we're going to have to be going for.
Yeah, as long as it's not Mohamed Salah, then I'll be happy.
Oh, mate, what a shocker of a weekend, pal. Things can only get better, I think. Anyway, thanks again for listening. Subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, and all the podcast apps. Follow us on Instagram at United100podcast. We'll see you later in the week. Thank you for joining me again, Scott.
Thank you, TC.
Cheerio, Reds.
Tara.